Hey, everybody, welcome today to Age in Reverse. I have got such a special guest. I cannot wait to introduce this lovely lady to you. And I have to tell you, we are just before we came on here talking for the first time and getting to know each other a little bit. I guess you could say in person, virtual, but I fell in love with her from afar. I've been fangirling for a while because I heard her on another podcast and loved what she had to say, loved how she has taken care of her own vessel and knew that she could bring so much value to this audience. Here, most of us are in perimenopause and menopause. We care about our skin and we want to understand better how can we nurture our skin to look the best it possibly can as we age year over year. And she exemplifies this. This is Tamara Renee. Tamara, thank you so much for being here today on Age in Reverse.
Thank you, Miss Lisa. I appreciate that. I'm glad to be here. And I hope that at the end of all of this, that whoever has listened to this, I've given them a gem that they can go and launch forward from. That's
Yes.
the whole goal, right?
And you know what? I know that that's going to happen because I started using some of your tips after listening to another podcast. So you dropped some gold nuggets. So I'm pumped. I'm so excited about what everybody's going to learn. Tamara, do me a favor and just tell us a little bit more about you. Tell our listeners, why you're passionate about what you do, exactly what it is you do, and just fill us in on a little bit about you if you would.
Fair enough. So, what took me to my career is I struggled with emotional eating and gained a lot of weight when I was younger. And I am an introvert, so I can kind of pull back and be a little shy at sometimes anyhow. But I was really becoming more of a recluse because I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. When I actually started applying some healthy habits, like I deserved to be overweight. It wasn't like, oh, what's going on with my body, right? And when I actually started applying some really healthy fundamental habits, my body started responding in a positive way. And I got to an energy level that I thought, is this my natural energy? I had no idea. I thought dragging booty was actually just natural. What everyone was going through is that's my natural genetics. And I started feeling so good, not even enjoying like the aesthetic part, which was absolutely fabulous and freeing also. But that energy, and when I started feeling better and more calm and more present in my conversations, I thought, all women need this
Mm.
because we are the people that adapt. We are the flow. The men are the strong pillars, right? And if we're not flowing and adaptive because we are not comfortable in our own skin, we can't be present, we can't be loving, we can't be helpful because we don't even know how to give that to our own self. So at that point, God told me, this is your mission. Your mission is to help and free women so that they can reside in their own bodies and then they can go and love up on the whole entire world. I think like one of the most difficult jobs and most important jobs on the planet is a parent. I've never been one. I didn't have that gift. And I think that is so remarkable that how we can groom and all the energy that it takes to grow and groom another one to confidence. And then we get this sneakiness as we get to the other point of aging where we've gotten all of this wisdom, all of these experiences, these natural rituals we thought are working and our body's responding and we're feeling vital. And then all of a sudden we get the menopause, the perimenopause and the menopause. And we're like, whoa, I do not know what's going on with this body and this brain of mine. I'm trying to stay loving. I'm trying to stay committed. But I feel like people, when their body is not responding based on them loving up on it in the same ways they were, it gets so disheartening and frustrating. And then what do? We tend to sabotage ourselves anymore because we're thinking nothing is working, right? And so I have really decided when I was younger that I am going to keep my blinders on. I'm going to find modalities that I absolutely adore and love. And I'm going to bring those to women and I'm going to teach them why the modalities that I choose are so important for overall health because the things that I choose don't just help you a little bit, they help you in many ways. It's kind of like hydration, cellular hydration helps you in every single aspects of your life. Okay? Common sense, right? Now, that if I want to think about what I can provide that's not so common for those people, but for helping these women get over that hurdle, learn how to control their bodies, learn how to control their weight, learn how to control the aging skin process, right? The brain fog and all of those other things that come with it. And so, with me in my practice, I use DNA nutrition to coach them. So, I use very specific nutrition that's helping them with their own genetics, their own body. Squish that epigenetics and express the good genetics. Okay. Then fascia. I found fascia later in life. I'm 61 and I don't have any makeup on right now besides gloss, my lips. And I feel comfortable going anywhere showing my skin, but I wasn't always that because I have thin natural skin. I've got thin white girl skin. So I've had to groom all mine to be pretty. And every day I still work at it. And I have found fascia restoration as a way of really helping the body and the skin. What we've learned about fascia, because many people don't even know, and Lisa, am I talking too much?
You're doing great. You're going into the one of the very first questions I was going to ask, which is talk to us about fascia. So you just keep on rolling.
Okay, great. So fascia is our connective tissue system. It's almost like our skin underneath the skin. We've got superficial layers and we've got deep layers of it. And the most important thing that people get from today's conversation is this. Fascia has no beginning and end. So could you imagine if your hair strand weaved back down and weaved back in your scalp and back down and back into your scalp, back into, and if you had a knot here, it is going to be messing up back here, right?
Mhm.
That's how it is with the fascia under our skin. It weaves in and out of every single organ, around every single muscle fibers, and then binds them together with more fascia around that. We have been slicing through that in surgery for years and years until 2005, no, six, was the first journal entry about what is that webby stuff that's like hair fibers with moisture underneath our skin. And they realized, oh, it's a whole system. And now they've got it regulated or not regulated, I'm sorry, they've got it logged in the medical journals as a suspension and a stability system. So that means that it's meant to hold stability in our joints when we're not using them right. And it helps us with movement so that it stays and it flexes and it flows with us when it's healthy. And then it also suspensing some things. So it keeps all of your organs gliding, all the tissue fibers gliding so I can move my fingers like this and everything. Then a couple years later, they actually logged it as the communication system because it houses every single nerve. So in that housing, if we don't have that healthy tissue fascia, then it'll clamp down on the nerves. And we got neuropathy issues, communication issues. We've got nourishment can't get into the cells. We've got toxins and can't get away from the cells. So anytime that we can't get nourishment to the top layers of our skin and toxin removal, then we start to get accelerated skin aging. Now that's just the aesthetic part of it. But could you imagine if it's clamping down and you've got a little scar tissue inside of like where it's binding to an organ or a bone, because bones are porous and it likes to bind to bones. And so when you actually restore your fascia, you're not only getting smoother, more glowing skin, tighter skin to you, but you're also doing things like smoothing out cellulite, increasing cellular health, increasing the communication between the body and the brain, right? Allowing for a flow of lymphatic fluids, opening up more of our detox pathways, keeping them clean, and then bringing nourishment to the top layers. I mean, I don't know how to emphasize the importance of all of that stuff. They even look at like if you've got an adhesion in your fascia, could 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 we train that to create adhesions to block cancer cells so we can go in and eradicate them at that site? There's
Mm.
so many great, amazing things that's going on with technology right now, looking at fascia, because we have been so dumbfounded about how many years we didn't even have a word for it, but we were slicing through it and cutting through it and everything.
Okay, so I have so many questions. I'm just trying to figure out where to start here. That was so good. That was right, kind of a master class on fascia, taking us back even to the history of when we acknowledged it, right? When we acknowledged it, as you said, like a system. That's fascinating to me. So I think one of the first questions I have is for anybody listening who's like, well, hot dang, I'm in my 40s, my 50s, my 60s. I've never paid attention to my fascia, didn't exactly understand what it was. Where do I start? That's question number one. But another thing that I really want to get to, Tamara, and we can do this after, but I don't want to forget, is so I have had three C-sections, okay? And I've had three babies, three C-sections. I tried a VBAC with my second one. None of them, I didn't want any of the C-sections, had to have them. It was life threatening. For me, I knew they were adhesions. I just didn't know what to call it years ago. And I still have issues to this day. My youngest is 18. So 18 years later, I still have issues at that site. So, number one, let's talk about question one. And number two, what can we do if we have this, what we consider maybe long term damage from some adhesions? Is it even possible to release them?
Very good question, right? Is it even possible? So let's think about, let me educate the audience about what causes adhesions under our skin. So it can be an emotional tension that causes a tissue tension. So what an emotional tension might be is like your 18-year-old told you, gosh, mom, you're not very pretty. You used to be prettier. And you're like, oh my gosh, you're emotionally like distraught. Or it can be a physical trauma, tripping in a heel and twisting an ankle and some adhesions created around that. It
Mm-hmm.
can be also like a surgery where they're cutting through the skin and that's an automatic scar or an adhesion in that, right?
Okay.
Or it could be misuse and overuse. And this is a big one. Please put on your listening ears. It is your misuse and overuse.
Mm-hmm.
Every client, whether working with me remotely and I teach them how to use the tools on themselves, or I've got someone here in my treatment room, I'm starting with a postural assessment because if we have got a rounded over shoulders and the fascia is a continuous system, it's going to be torquing on it everywhere. As you said, I've got C-section. I feel it's not restored and there's still problems in that area. Well, tell you, Lise, it's affecting your whole body because
Mm-hmm.
it's a continuous system. So you're noticing it more there.
Mm-hmm.
And it is going to be more concentrated there, right?
Yeah.
But we need ways to unadhere them and get them moving because if it is superficial scar, it's clamping down on our lymphatic system.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's clamping down on the lymphatic system gets more gelatinous and doesn't flow through, which is our debris cleaning system.
Mm.
So then it pushes down further into the deeper layers of the fascia. And then we just get these blocky built. Some people think, oh, this is the size of my hips. This is the size of my saddlebags. This is the size of my calves. This is the size of my arms. And I'm like, no, all of this is just bound fascia on top of each other, scar on top of scar on top of scar on top of scar.
Wow.
And it gets like bulky and thick. And like I didn't have an ankle. My thighs and my calves and ankles were all the same size. Look at this.
Mm.
Able to do a pretty thin leg now and sculpt that for myself. But that even doesn't even tell you, like, I got rid of plantar fasciitis had for 2 years by helping the health of my fascia. Now, the one thing you said, what can my people at home do? Well,
Yes.
we can always start with a good prayer, and we can always start by leaning into trusting that our body, once we give it a little love, can go back to its innate wisdom and help ourselves.
Mm.
Okay. So if we don't have a scar, we haven't had a cut from a medical doctor through our skin or slicing something that's been repaired, then what we want to do is we want to do a lot of things like stretching, 3D stretching, rotation of things, work on our posture, and maybe skin brush to get that lymph fluid moving through better. Those are
Okay.
three easy things that people can do in their homes every day right now, right?
Stretching, dry brushing, and what was the third?
Posture, working on the
Posture. Working
posture.
on posture. Got it. Okay.
I even do just a postural assessment for people that want to do just posture and nothing else. But
Hmm.
I cannot tell you the magnitude of issues. I just had a young fellow that had heart surgery. He's mid-20s. He walks in my practice and he's got huge scar all the way around. But I noticed he's not even moving. He's barely moving. He's protecting his breath and everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to help this young man.
Mm.
And I don't work on very many men. I probably work on 1% men, maybe 0.5%. And his mother got him appointment with me, and just seeing his body on lockdown, where he can't even take a deep breath, he can't even stand up straight because of the pain of the fascia adhesions that have got him kind of stuck and moved together. But I was able to show him how his feet and hyperextending his knees was adding to the issue. So that was actually wonderful because I got to teach him, hey, we need to unwind this. It's not going to be easy. It is going to take effort. It is going to take time.
Mhm.
However, if you work on, thank you, sorry, just got a delivery. If
Good.
you got an injury, you as you know, there's like stepping stones to get you back. So if you've got a scar and you have not improved the health of that scar by either doing skin folding, pinching, and pulling, I've got a whole certification just in scars alone because I used to work at 3 plastic surgeons' offices.
Wow.
So I loved helping the people just right out of surgery because they did not want to be touched. But I knew that if I got their fluids moving and the inflammation down, they were going to love me. They're going to hate me in the very first 3 minutes, and they're going to love me when they leave. And
Right.
I knew that I had the power in these paws to help them. And
Mhm.
so I wanted to go get a further certification so that I can make sure that I wasn't doing anything wrong in my first couple of days post surgery and helping them, right? So, but yes, rubbing those, touching those scars, pulling on the skin. So say I had a scar right here, literally pinching it and pulling on it, pinching it and pulling on it all the way across it is what everyone should be doing with their scars. I've got scars here. I've got scars, horse accident, car accident. I had a pregnancy rupture, so I've got 3 on my stomach, and I'm just constantly pulling on them if you don't have tools. If
Mhm.
you've got tools, because our fascia is like hairline fibers, it's better to have a combing mechanism. But if
Okay.
you don't have a combing mechanism, just even pulling on your skin helps it.
Okay. So this is really good. As you're talking, like I'm visualizing my body. So I had my breast implants removed in 2019. So I have those scars, my C-section, and then I've been in therapy now for almost 2 months over calcific Achilles tendonitis and plantar fasciitis that I've had since my 30s. I'll be 52 this year, that I've had since my 30s because I'm a dancer and just overuse, as you said, overuse, and my feet are in so much pain all the time, especially if I've sat for like more than 10 minutes. Get up to walk, it just hurts, right? So listening to the things you're saying, now I actually have, I think, one, if not both of those tools that were in your hand.
Oh, fabulous.
Yes. Okay. So I have the one that was in your left hand, that little one. I just got that recently after listening to you. And then I got a couple other things that you had. You had like the little brush on a stick, and you showed this in one of your videos.
Love
And
that thing.
yeah, so if you're listening and you can't see, um, so what one of the things Tamara showed was like on your chest, your upper chest. Y'all follow her on Instagram, FitFineFascia. She just has video after video that's so great. But she has this brush like on the end of this little stick, and she was brushing upward on her like her upper chest. And immediately I thought, oh my gosh, I'm always so tight. I lift a lot, but mobility is very important to me, Tamara. So I spend a lot of time working on mobility. But as you were talking, I'm like, I spend time on mobility through my joints, but that's not the same as having mobility through your fascia, right? And so where I get bound up sometime, maybe through my chest or even through my back, am I correct in saying that is probably my fascia is just so incredibly tight and it needs to be released?
Yes. So my thought is I'm thinking it's more lymph congestion. If it's up here that it gets tight
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times, and if you're not leaning forward, like I'm leaning forward doing body treatments all day, so it's more likely that I'm going to be tied up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, it just might be a little lymph fluid
Okay.
causing the tension on you and getting it to stick up in here on us.
Okay.
And I'm using my tools. I always activate my lymph because
Okay.
the lymph activation helps getting those lymph ducts ready to collect the debris and move it out of our body.
Okay.
And so even when I'm working the aesthetics of my skin, I'm always working lymphatic system, getting it pumping and moving. And then when I do anything deeper with the fascia layers, I always start with my clients, teaching them about opening that lymph. And based on what you just told me about your feet, my dear, I am so sorry. I know how painful that is. It is,
So painful.
I mean, literally, you want to cry almost every
Oh,
second when you're on.
yes.
And
Yes.
I would love to open this up and offer you a free postural assessment
Okay.
that maybe we could do it on a recording
Okay.
and that we can show what I've identified in you, and
Love
that
that.
maybe then we can share it with your audience and we can help them get a leg up in all of this. Because I will tell you, your posture is everything, and the strength of your big toe will have everything to do with how your cellulite looks, how your hips age, how your knees age, and how to hold up your body so that the flow of fluids and communication can go fluidly and get the job done, right?
Okay. So I love something I loved everything you just said. And yes, to the postural assessment, I would absolutely love that. One of the things you said starting at the big toe, how that can have an effect on everything above it, basically, right? And what I want our listeners to hear, and I want to actually go into lymph here in just a moment, if you could just kind of define that for everybody so everybody's on the same page, understanding the importance and the function of our lymphatic system. But I've often talked about our bodies are a house of cards. You've got your back is hurting or your neck is hurting. It could be something as simple as your ankle not being mobile enough. And so then you're compensating with the way that you're standing, which affects the knee, which affects the hip, which affects the back, which affects the neck. We are all interconnected. So, what I love about this conversation so much is talking about now the fascia, which is not something I understand a lot about. It really brings even more of a three-dimensional perspective to the whole conversation of how our bodies are so interconnected. So, having said that, would you just go into lymph just for a moment, the lymphatic system, lymphatic drainage? Why is it important? What even is it?
Well, we've got this drainage system, a very small piping system through our body. And then in those pipes, we've got bigger portals that the toxins move through and they go into the ducts and those ducts pull it through. That is our immune building system, our debris cleaning system. And it is a fluid similar to like a little bit more viscosity than water, but not quite as much as um, a white of an egg.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When that gets congested, dehydrated, congested, or clamped down on, we don't have movement and mobility. And that causes our body a lot of pain. Many times when we're feeling pain, it's the lymph fluid that if we get moving, the pain can start going away and diminishing. But then we need to treat what caused that lymph to back up, right?
Right. Right.
Is it dehydration? Is it not enough nourishment and minerals? Is it stagnation from immobility and us just being living stagnant lifestyles?
Mm,
Or is it even that emotional stuff that's just trapped inside of us that could have been there ever since we came through the birthing canal?
mm,
If our emotions transfer, we could have stored some emotion. Like maybe my mother was scared to death to be a mom.
mm,
Maybe then I've got all of those fears and everything in my body now.
mm.
And then we've carried it through all of these years, and it just adds up because our body gets less and less and less efficient at cleaning and moving and agility. And so we're seeing that as we age. And then we add hormonal variances. But what happens is a swing in hormones and a decline can almost be like a toxic overload for the body because it can't move things out of it and rebalance itself anymore because it doesn't have the hormonal support. Now,
Yes.
I don't know. I am not educated enough on bioidenticals and all of this stuff. I chose not to do that because I did not have a bad menopause besides up in 5 pounds, which was most inflammation until I kind of figured out how to change my diet a little bit to get that down. And then also, like, all I did is sweat. But I don't mind. I do hot yoga. I work out. My work, I can get hot. I just pull up my hair, right?
Mm,
And
right.
I'd go about my day. So,
Yeah.
uh, it was a little easier for me, but I do think there's a lot of good research out there now showing ways and kind of safer ways to bring in the bioidenticals and things like that for us. So, but to the audience, I can't really speak to that. And I think what I people don't understand how much influence they have on their well-being. And so, because they don't have the simple, basic understanding, and that the doctors aren't talking about, they're not talking about cellular hydration. They're not talking about devotional time in the morning.
Mm,
They're not talking about getting the radius of our eyes exposed to sunlight before blue light.
right.
They're not talking about not sitting for hours and keeping our body moving.
Right.
They're not talking about um, like how things get stored in and how do we get them out,
Mm,
right?
right.
How do we get
Right.
those traumas and those toxins out?
Right.
So
Right.
there's just kind of lost my train of where I was going with that, but it just breaks my heart that if people really understand about the posture, the cellular hydration, some of our basics, we can help our bodies get stronger to do its natural wisdom.
Yes. I so agree with you, and Tamara, it's one of the reasons I connected with you so much, just everything you're saying right now. I am such a firm believer. I tell my clients this, I tell my followers this, I tell my listeners this often, is that we have so much control over how we are aging. We truly do. My family history, complete disaster. I have so many, a diagnosis after my name that started in my 20s, but I chose to rewrite that legacy because through specific lifestyle habits and intentions and constantly learning, like I am right now, I don't know much about the whole fascia system, but I want to know more because I know it's going to help me to age better. So I just hope everybody listening just kind of gobbles that up and takes this into their soul. The things that Tamara is saying is that we have so much control. We don't know how many days we have. We don't know how many, days God has allotted us here on earth, but what we do have is stewardship over this body that he has given us, that is a miraculous creation. And we want to steward our finances well and our relationships well and everything else. Why wouldn't we want to steward our body? And knowing we have control is a beautiful thing over so much. So thank you for going there. Where I'd love to go next is talk for just a moment about cellulite. This is a big issue with a lot of women, right? I mean, we have to go here because I learned some things from you, and I've had a fascia blaster, the big one. I've had that for probably 8 years. Would love to say I've used it a lot. I haven't, but I have used it some. But I learned a lot from you in just watching your reels and different things you've talked about. Tell us a little bit about cellulite. Is there anything we can do about it? If so, what are some of those things?
Yes, your cellulite can go away. Okay. Cellulite is only scar tissue underneath our skin. And people go, oh, but when I lose weight, it doesn't go away. That scar tissue doesn't go away. The fat cell pushing against that scar tissue is not as bulbous when we're overweight compared to at the ideal weight. So it's got the contrast that's pulling on it. But that adhesion is what a cellulite is. So, and then what happens is we go, okay, why does my body create a cellulite dent? Misuse and overuse in your posture and biomechanics,
Hmm.
improper diet with too much inflammation in it,
Mm-hmm.
not processing out emotional traumas, not working through your scar tissue when you've been sliced, and not working through your physical traumas in order to help the mobility of your body and your joints, which you said you work your joints. Brilliant. People always think I've got cellulite here in the belly of the muscle. And I'm like, don't worry about that. Work on your joints that surround that area that you don't like the aesthetics of. And the belly of it gets so much prettier. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best things about working the fascia system is that you get health and beauty with it. You don't have to compromise one. We get all of that beautiful aging. Now, people, as we get a little older, our skin tends to change. And this is where it gets a little trickier. And I don't want to frustrate the audience. So I'm going to make this one little comment and I'm going to move right on.
Okay.
When your skin gets thin, like mine at 61, you've got to be a little bit more precise with your motions and your movements and your treatments. Because if you put a tool on you and that tool is going to be rubbing back and forth on all your fascia, not all fascia is sick. Not all fascia has adhesions. Not all fascia is all bound up. But you're working it. So that means I could be breaking down some good, healthy, strong fascia,
Mm.
right? But so you kind of like, you want to be more careful as you age and as your skin gets thinner and how you're treating yourself. And that's why I want to say, like, I do virtuals. Don't worry. I got you covered. I've had Athens customers, Australia, South Africa, Costa Rica, Canada. I've worked with plenty of people. There is no limitations for me. And if there's ever a challenge, great. I'm I'm a get it done girl.
Yes, you
Don't-
are.
I don't get stopped. I'm like,
Yeah.
what are we committed to? I'm committed to help you. I'm
Yeah.
committed to help this audience, right? Like I will not get stopped.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, and so, and so with cellulite, if you're thinking about what causes the adhesion, so it could be those emotions, it could be a trip in your shoes, it could be your toes not working well, it could be that, when you came through the birthing canal, it was really hard for you, so it clamped and moved around your body weird. Or, it could be some emotional thing that you've gone through that's so sad that you just housed it in here and you're not getting up and moving. But people to get rid of it. I am 99% cellulite free at 61 years of age. When
Amazing.
I was a Pop Warner cheerleader, I looked at my legs and go, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? 13, and I was already seeing cellulite. Okay. Now, the area that I have not been able to get rid of all my cellulite is kind of by choice because anywhere that you treat, you make it smaller.
Mm.
So if I'm going to treat this muscle, I'm going to keep making this smaller, 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 smaller. It has been proven to restore the fascia, decrease fat in areas. Okay.
Okay.
So if I am going to treat my butt, I don't want my butt any smaller. I am willing to keep the cellulite on there so that it doesn't get smaller. And
Mm.
then every once in a while, I go in and I just go to my butt and I'm just like right around those dents, trying to get it out like really precisely without blasting the whole thing because I don't want it to get any smaller.
Right. That makes sense.
But people always people in here going, oh, I can't even get on boots. I can't wear boots because I can't get them over my calves. I'm like, oh, well, just lay down. Let me do my magic, right? Or people like, oh, I have to cover my arms all the time because I've got all this cellulite on my arms. I'm like, oh, don't worry, sit back, right? And then that small tool that you saw me take that's got a flat head,
Yeah.
it's got a silicone base. I use that on all of my wrinkly areas. I use that from here to here. I use it all down my inner arms. I use it over the wrinkles on my knees because I'm increasing the circulation without breaking down anything.
Okay.
I
So,
don't I don't have problems here. This is not an adhesion in my fascia. This is just wrinkled skin.
okay. So with that, does that go to, that makes me think of crepey skin, which is a big concern for women, especially over 50. It's like the closer after 50, it just seems to get crepier and crepier. Is that something that would help with that kind of crepey appearance?
It can in this way. So if your skin is crepey in those areas because it is not healthy, then yes, all of this is dramatically going to help.
Okay.
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 Now, if it's healthy and you keep working it, it can make it a little thinner and it
Mm,
can make it a little crepier, right?
okay. Good to
That's
know.
why I always teach like how to bring the most circulation, like always do your skin brushing, use the silicone thing right in those areas, and then feel, do you have adhesions? When you have adhesions, it's either going to be blocky where it looks fabulous. You look like you're all fit because it's all pulled together. That's not how you want it. You don't want to glue together. You want to be able to pull on your skin and you want it to be able to come up off of you.
Hmm.
That's healthy fascia. And so
Hmm.
you've got to determine, is it healthy, is it not? And if it's not healthy, how can I restore it? Right.
Okay.
And then when you restore it, it gets glowy, it gets bouncy, it gets fuller, it gets prettier. Right. I mean, I can tell if I need to blast my knees to my feet, which is my weak link,
Mhm.
because I had plantar issues, and that's what made me find fascia.
Okay.
Blasting, right? Treating and restoring my fascia because of the pain in my feet and my Achilles.
Mhm.
And um, what was I, where was I going? The pain with Bob.
Let's see. We were talking about crepey skin. We were talking about that it needs to be healthy. Is your skin healthy?
Oh, I can put on my morning lotion
Mm,
and I can feel if my skin isn't as soft in an area because the fascia needs to be worked again.
interesting.
And it always tends to happen right on my calves and down my shins. And I'm always like, I've had to recorrect a hip that went out. I'm, almost there. You're 9 years later, recorrecting my posture, right? Ripping old scar tissue down and everything. But I will tell you, I can tell when my body needs more treatment. Like, oh gosh, I need to do it a couple more times this week, right?
Mm,
It will feel dry, but otherwise it feels soft and buttery and
mm,
hydrated because it's getting all the nutrition to the top layers and it's pulling all the debris away. And your skin talks to you. It
mm,
tells you, I'm improving. I'm improving. I'm improving. And we just go, oh, it gets prettier, prettier, prettier. And then we're all of a sudden, geez, when I lay in bed at night, my shoulders aren't so much at my ears. Oh my gosh, I'm getting up and my feet aren't as bad. Now, after a full day, they're hurting. But gosh, I had a couple times today that I got up that I did not have that like sharp pain. Like, how am I going to tolerate this step? Right? It just
mhm.
gets better and better and prettier and prettier and prettier.
I love that. And you're a walking testimony of all of this, Tamara. I think the very first thing I noticed about you when I went to your Instagram was your neck. Like you have the most beautiful, smooth, youthful neck. If y'all heard her, she is 61. You would never know that by listening because she has all this energy and this vibrancy and all of this. And I want you to know that this is so realistic for all of us. I encourage you a lot, always go follow people who are older than you. So I'm 51. Tamara and I are 10 years apart. And I love seeing what is possible 10 years down the line. Like that's really exciting to me. So always go and surround yourself physically if at all possible. That's the best. But secondarily, follow people online who are where you want to be in certain areas. And I love your energy and I love your vibrancy and I love just the abundance that exudes from you. You absolutely glow. But I'm telling you, what drew me first physically was your neck. I'm like, it's gorgeous.
Funny.
Nothing gets
No
our
one
neck
has ever said that to me.
real. Shut the front door. It's the
No,
first thing I notice on any woman, just because I think I'm just fascinated by skin in
yeah,
general.
I
I'm
do too.
just fascinated by it. And I am right there with everybody else looking down at my phone and all the creases that happen and all of that. Then you have, even if we were in a closet, never exposed to sun or a phone, we're still going to wrinkle to some extent, right? There's just a natural aging process. So I'm fascinated. And it's one of the first things I notice on a woman. And yours is gorgeous. Can you take us through what you do just briefly before we close down today?
I use that one invigorator tool, and if do you want me to go show them and get that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And another thing I want to leave was I leave this for you guys to ruminate on. One of my favorite sayings is keep up versus catch up. I'm
Mm,
older than all my friends because I didn't have children. So I started to kind of go younger because all my friends were having kids and doing all that. And I am one, I'm like, listen, I am playing catch up because I
mm.
didn't have the wisdom, but I am teaching you now. And don't ignore what I'm saying. Right? So keep up versus catch up. Catching up is much harder.
That's
So
a great, yeah. Go ahead and grab your tool. That is a great, I love that. Keep up instead of catch up. That also keeps us from being overwhelmed. Like, oh my gosh, I have so much, so much that I have to do to be where she is or whatever. And we don't want to compare ourselves, but that's really good. And the tool that she's bringing out right now, I think it's the same one that I got, which I absolutely love. But just so you know, yes, I got that. So if you're here and you're like, what tool? What tool? Again, if you're just on audio and you're like, I don't know what she's talking about, do know that we're going to have everything about Tamara linked up in the show notes. So you're going to be able to go find all of this. Okay, talk to us about this tool, Tamara.
okay, so I'm just now putting on lymph fluid and I'm going to
Okay.
show you how I do my neck.
Okay.
I take a soft silicone. I have got so many silicone things that have cost hundreds of dollars from Neiman Marcus and even like almost $400. This silicone is beautiful. And the right silicone and the right texture is important as your skin ages.
Okay.
And I open my lymph ducts by just wiggling right here on my clavicle. And
Okay.
then I up the center. So I'm taking this flat edge and only going up on this platysma muscle that goes between the breast and ends at the lips. So
Okay.
could you imagine if this is all pulling us down? It's from the
Mm,
breast, that whole muscle, and comes up here. And then
mm.
I just go up, 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 up. And then I do tension releasing in the body on the sides. Now I use this all the way from here to here every single day without fail. And most days a week, I will take it down my inner arm line where I tend to get the most creepiest. And then 1 to 2 times a week, I will do it over my kneecaps and help my skin get that nourishment without breaking down anything.
That's
And
what I was about.
love
That's what
this.
I was about to ask you. So we don't have to worry about overusing that necessarily because it's soft silicone and it's the right texture. So unlike a tool that's more firm, we don't have to have the kid gloves with it maybe as much, correct?
Correct. I would agree with that. Yes. You don't need to push hard, right? Our body just needs circulation.
Okay, that was my next question. How it's hard to see how firm a pressure you are using. Well, can you explain that?
Yeah. So if I'm going to say like, clenching the hand, so just resting your palms and
Hmm.
then forcing your palms. So say this was a 1 and the forcing is a 5, you're going to probably be in a 2.
Ooh, that's helpful. That's helpful. I can see that. Okay, okay. I have this tool. I'm so excited to like use it a little more effectively. I just got it a week ago, so I'm so excited about
I
that. Yeah.
carve out, I do like, yeah, this one I use almost on every single body, even mine, even though
Okay.
it's called the face blaster.
Uh-huh.
And this one, I could not live with this one.
Okay.
I mean, she's my baby.
I love
It
it.
does come on a longer stick. I don't tend to like the sticks because it keeps me farther away and I can't feel my tightness and lumps or wherever I'm trying to be intuitive to. The
Yeah.
stick kept me too far away from my skin that I couldn't feel everything that I wanted. So I
Okay.
just take the stick off and use it just at the tip.
Okay. We're gonna have links for you guys. I promise. So I know you're
I
like,
know.
I want to know. Well, we've got you. We've got you. So, Tamara, I literally have so many more questions. I may have you back on again if that's okay eventually because there's just so much I feel like to unpack here. I mean, we could go in the emotional part of things. We can go in, the physical trauma part of things. Like, I feel like you are just, I don't feel like I know you are a plethora of information, not just for aesthetics, but I am really, I'm in the South and a lot of people that follow me or listen are also in the South. And in the South, it's just considered vain to want to have pretty skin. A lot of times, a lot of us grew up with, oh, that you just need to age gracefully, darling. You just need to, that's just the way it is. Just accept it. And I'm just of the opinion, you know what? There is nothing wrong with wanting to feel and look the very best you can, because when you're confident, you show up in a different way. You just do. And so I love this conversation, and I love that we were able to dive into the aesthetic part of it and then kind of dip our toe into some other things that I really would love to talk about in the future. Is there anything we haven't covered before we end that you want to let our listeners know about?
Well, I think it's most important that the audience never gives up on themselves. Like, I understand when you're going through menopause and there's a lot of like, what in the heck is going on in this body? Never give up.
Yes.
Never just say, oh, this is just how it's going to be. Never. There's
Yeah.
always an answer for you. You keep searching till you find it. You're worth it, right?
Love it. I love it. That's beautiful. Tamara, tell everybody where they can find you. I'll have everything linked up in the show notes, but just verbally go ahead and tell people where you would like for them to connect with you.
Okay, well, you could be on my newsletter, which gives lots of tips and everything that's under my name, tamararenee.com.
Okay.
Then you can follow me on Instagram, which is FitFineFascia. I think those are the two best places that do with the dominance of my time and energy go into those.
Okay, that's amazing. And I found the tools that we're talking about by going to your Instagram bio, your link in your bio. So you've got all kinds of great information down there too. So just know, you guys, just with those two resources right there, it's going to take you on a rabbit trail, because it did me. It was a fun rabbit trail. I got to know you a little bit better, and then reached out and said, please come talk to my ladies. So Tamara, I just can't thank you enough. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your expertise. Thank you for just your passion for what you do. You're beautiful inside and out. And I just feel so honored to get to know you. And I can't wait until we can chat again. Okay.
Okay, Miss Liz, thank you. I
Thank,
appreciate you.
thank you so much.